Welcome everyone to today's meeting of the Extraordinary Licensing Board. First, some housekeeping. If the fire alarm is activated, please take the stairs down to the reception area and out of the building to the green in Hawley Square, which is the assembly point. Please do not use the lifts. Officers, let's try another one. Please do not use better. No. I'll speak a bit louder. How's that? Not too bad. Please do not use the lifts. Officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the council offices. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public areas may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend to film the meeting? No.
Alan.
I think you need to move along.
Yeah.
I think you need to move along so.
I'll speak louder.
They can't hear it.
They can't hear it.
Go on, just move on.
Yep, no problem.
See, we knew you could.
Oh, I've done my back there. All right. How's that? Okay. Please note this meeting is being filmed and live streamed onto the YouTube. Any filming or recording will not be permitted for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting.
Sorry, can you speak into the microphone, not you.
Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and that they are not used to make or receive phone calls while the meeting is in progress. Apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Huxley, Councillor Ara, Councillor Wright and Councillor Garner. Are there any more apologies? No. Moving on to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Item 3, draft Hackney carriage and private hire licensing policy 2025 to 2030. Please can I ask Miss Alison Brock, Technical Support Manager, to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everyone. As an authority, we don't currently have a policy in place with regard to the licensing of drivers, vehicles and operators. This was originally considered pre-COVID, but was never put in place. We've always had various application procedures and driver and vehicle conditions, and this document is putting them all together along with some new procedures, i.e. codes of conduct and the penalty point scheme. The policy is based on ones from other local authorities within Kent, including Dover and Ashford. There are currently no national procedures or policies in place. However, this is currently being looked at by the Transport Committee inquiry, which launched a call for evidence back in October. Details of this can be found at Annex 18 of the report. The policy was out for consultation between the 19th of June and the 8th of August. All replies received can be found at Annex 17. The comments were all considered, and following this, a number of changes have been made to the draft policy. These are highlighted in yellow in the document, but these include, among other things, the removal of the requirement to use a different garage for compliance checks at renew and renewal and 6 monthly. The requirement for operators to submit monthly lists of drivers on their books. This has been changed to on request of the licensing authority. Hackney carriage vehicles must not be left unattended, has been changed to unattended on ranks. Working hours / driving limits, this has been updated. Dress code, smart tailored shorts and sports shirts has been removed from the unacceptable standards. The penalty point scheme, giving false information on an application, has been updated to state in regard to convictions, refusal and revocations by another authority. Failure to wear a driver's badge has been removed and or changed to failure to display. Failure to carry a fire extinguisher and a first aid kit have been removed. Failure of a private hire operator to ensure vehicles attend punctually has been removed. Before anyone is given any of these points on the policy, we will always speak to drivers, just as we do now, to get both sides of the story. And of course, we won't issue points on a first you know, a first offence as such. They will just be warned that you've done this, you know, it'll go on their file, but we won't issue any points. And if it happens again, that's when the points will start to kick in. And of course, once they get to 12 points, they'll come before yourselves. The vehicle ages has been changed, and the recommendations for this can be found at Annex 19. They include the maximum age at new to be changed from 5 to 7 years, and still obviously Euro 6 compliant. And this will come into effect as soon as the policy comes into effect, which we hope will be the 1st of January. The maximum age at renewal will be 10 years, but this will have a 2-year transitional period, which will therefore come into effect in 2028, the same time of the proposed council mergers and restructures. And obviously, you know, if we merge with, say, Ashford, Canterbury, whoever, we're not going to be working with 3 different policies. It's going to be one policy to cover the whole of the unitary authority. There's no age restriction on fully electric vehicles, and the fees for those are also going to be waived for the period of this policy. Unlimited age for fully adapted wheelchair vehicles, because of course these are very expensive. And hybrids, the age limit will be 12, and again with a 2-year transition period. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Members, hopefully everybody's seen the updated draft policy and looked at the Alison's team's comments and changes to the original draft policy. So any comments or observations from members?
I'm really glad we've changed the law on shorts because it's getting so hot in the summer. But I wanted to talk about age of vehicles because I have some concerns. I agree that people should have the newest vehicle they could have, particularly if they're carrying passengers. But we have a number of contextual issues here in Thanet. I've just looked at the number of vehicles that wouldn't be compliant, and there's 203 diesel vehicles, 12 petrol vehicles, and I was just about to add up the hybrid, but there's a significant number of hybrids. I wondered if you'd looked at the percentage of vehicles that will be affected by this, and whether, if we implement this in January, there will be a major knock-on to us being able to have a licence, have the number of taxis we need locally. And also, I also noticed that in some of the comments that are made by some of the people who've put comments in, that one of the problems seems to be that our charges for taxis, for the use of taxis, is much lower than the surrounding areas. So that puts our taxi people in a sort of a, not on a level playing field, so they're less financially able to change their vehicles. From a personal viewpoint, I mean, I drive a van that's ULEZ compliant. So what is the difference between Euro 6 and ULEZ? So there's 3 questions there, I think. Concerns about we having a large number of vehicles that suddenly are not allowed on the road. The fact that our taxi people can't charge or don't charge as much as the surrounding area, and I think we had that we did that a year ago, I think, didn't we? And then what's the difference between Euro 6 and ULEZ?
Right, well, the fees part of it, we only have control over Hackney fares. So that's the report that comes to you. So it'll be coming to you in January, February time to look at the Hackney fares. Private hire fares, we have no control over. Private hire fares are set by the operators, so we have no control over those. To be honest, I do not really know the difference between Euro 6 and ULEZ. I don't know if Morgan would know, because it was his, someone from his team that did the age restriction thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there are specific differences. Sorry, thank you, Councillor. But no, it's a set of standards. So I think all I'm right in saying all Kent authorities have Euro 6 as a minimum. I think Thanet has the oldest vehicles. I think you've probably read as well in the justification of the whole of Kent. In terms of the specifics of ULEZ, I'm not totally appraised of what that is. I was just trying to find an answer. I might be able to get you one by the end of the meeting on what the requirements are for ULEZ, but that's obviously a fee is applicable for not meeting those minimum requirements, as opposed to this being a requirement for that sets the standards and age of vehicles across the board for taxi licensing. So.
I do get it, 'cause I think the issue with diesel vehicles is particulates, and the issue, which are bad for people, and the issue with petrol vehicles is it's bad for the environment. So we have a significant greater number of diesel vehicles. I am ULEZ compliant, so I can drive into London. I have to put that blue ad stuff in. But it really worries me. I'm not reading it. We're giving people 2 years to actually be compliant. That's everybody, whether you're diesel, petrol. I worry about the move to electric. I shouldn't be, because I'm a Green councillor, but I personally can't afford an electric vehicle, and even if I could afford one, there's nowhere for me to charge it. So I'm not sure. Thanet is behind in many things, and one of them is also the ability to actually charge your vehicles. And then if you charge in a petrol station, you don't see a little sign, diesel £2.50, petrol this much, and then electric this much. And we all know from my friends that have got electric vehicles that petrol stations are presently charging well over the odds to charge. So they're just some of the issues I have with actually forcing a large number of taxi drivers to actually go down a route which is going to be very difficult for them to achieve, given we also have this infrastructure problem around electric vehicles.
May I just respond quickly on that? Is that so? We have, as you're probably aware, we have sought funding historically for specifically for taxi driver points and for various car parks. I think one of the key things in the justification was there's no, we're not forcing electric vehicles on anybody. It's we're simply getting rid of the charge to incentivise it, and I think a move towards that across the board with council policies will actually help drive future funding, like projects we've taken on in the past. So I think again, in terms of the justification, that move and being able to reinforce council policies when we apply for funding from the Department for Transport, for example, that will aid in that process, and it's not a punitive measure. It's simply incentivising electric vehicle use. So, thank you.
We're doing, and I can see the mission. I'm a teaching background, so I can see the issues coming up. I don't often use taxis that much, but when I do use them, it's normally because I need to use them. So to suddenly find, I mean, it would be interesting to work out the percentage of vehicles that would be affected, I could work that. There were no totals on the sheet, and it would have been useful. But I think looking at the sheet, it's probably 3/4 of the fleet would be affected. Yeah. So also, I mean, we've just bought. We're moving our own waste fleet to. I'm going to call it chip oil, but it isn't. I can't remember. I can't remember what it is. Biodiesel, which also every solution creates further problems that also need to be solved. So is there any scope for some of these vehicles moving to biodiesel?
Do you want me to answer that? Yes. So, sorry, Penny, were you going to answer that? Thanks. No, there is, I would say, from an environmental perspective, there is scope, but it would depend where we're sourcing that fuel from. There are also environmental issues that we've experienced in the past with people trying to either make their own or source rather illicit sources of fuel, which have then caused other environmental problems in our streets and drains. So yeah, if it was some scheme that incentivise the use of environmental fuels, we'd be more than happy with that. But there are potential other issues, so it'd have to be tightly controlled, I would suggest. Thank you.
I read all the documents. We're moving to a unitary authority, and we've probably got a situation that might be catastrophic given there's a significant number of vehicles involved. Would it not be sensible, and this caveat might be in there because you said there's a 2-year transition period, would it not be sensible to to actually shift the deadline for when we become a unitary authority. So everybody has to be applying the new set of rules and regulations by the time we become a unitary authority.
So that is the 2-year transition period, and I think it's important to note that we will still be 2 years behind every other local authority with 7 years. I've just looked up the ULEZ, and that is Euro 6 diesels, and a Euro 6 diesel is any vehicle that was registered after the 1st of September 2015, so that is 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Can't get my brain in gear this morning. So yeah, so that's how ULEZ works.
I think I'm finished.
Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to say that I agree with everything that Councillor Wing has said, and I'm very pleased to see that the age of the vehicles has been extended. I think 5 years is a lot to put on taxi drivers. And I'd like to say that my car runs on AdBlue as well, and I can get through ULEZ with it, and my car's 7 years old now. Thank you.
Any other comments from members? Yeah, I'd like to sort of add, I think the transition period is important. With so many vehicles being affected by the age changes, I think this is something we can look at, and if there's any tweaks where things can be improved and help drivers that are driving cars that are slightly older than 10 years old, the last thing we want is to decimate our taxi fleet. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think this is something that we can explore further. Councillor Driver.
Yes, I was just about to say that maybe a 1 year period when we look at it once again to see actually how it's affected people. Do you think that might be an idea? Come back in a year.
I think we can note that, and there's a few issues that we can look at further. Any other comments from Councillor Smith?
Only that my understanding, and I'm very likely to have it wrong, my understanding is that the changes that we're bringing, or the regulations that we're bringing in, are gently behind the other authorities in Kent, and hopefully will enable the private hire fleet to catch up just about in time for us to cease to exist, and for our regulations to be superseded by the unitaries. So I'm actually really pleased to see. I think it's been quite humane the way that this has been put together. So I'm pleased to see that.
I do feel that looking at the other areas, that Thanet is less strict than other areas with some of these policies, not just the age policy. I think we have to be careful that we don't end up, though, with a Thanet policy that is so less strict than others, that many drivers come here to be licensed, and then we would be absolutely swamped with like drivers from other areas looking to get licensed here over the next 2 years, which would affect our current local drivers.
Can I? That is actually a case in point at the moment, because Canterbury's age restrictions have recently kicked in. So we are now getting a lot of applications from drivers that used to work in the Canterbury area to come here and be licensed and bring their vehicles here.
I've noticed that. Yeah. Any other comments from members? Councillor Scobie.
I generally welcome this policy. I think it's long overdue. I think the consultation process, looking at all the highlighted yellow bits where you've listened to complaints or grievances or worries, has made the policy more workable. I think Councillor Driver's idea of a review in a year's time to see how it's bedding in is worth considering. And in 2 years, we're going to be at the unitary where it's a whole new ball game anyway. But I think in the short term, this is a good policy. We've listened to the operators and drivers' concerns. We've made some changes. It may not be absolutely what they want, but it's a very, very good start. So thank you.
Thank you. I should say that although the people in the public area are not allowed to speak today, you will have a chance to speak on November the 18th at the Overview and Scrutiny Board. Please come along if there's any comments you'd like to make, and that they'll certainly be looked at. Any last comments from members?
I think we have to
Sorry.
remember that our taxis are carrying people. So it's, although personally our own keeping our own vehicles maintained and up to date is a personal issue. We're not using our vehicles to actually carry paid passengers, so there's an extra layer of responsibility. I agree with Councillor Driver that there should be some ongoing review to see what the impact is on the number in our fleet, particularly of local drivers, because I did notice in the report that we've got people from other areas coming in, and then obviously the Uber pickups are in competition as well and not subject to the same level of. They are good.
Councillor Smith.
Just one thing, it might be a silly question, but is there not a cap on the number of drivers that can be licensed, and there's no way of imposing? Okay, no.
Any last comments from members? In that case, these are the officer recommendations that will be going forward. That the Licensing Board note and scrutinise the report and consider any representations to Cabinet in advance of its meeting on the 27th of November 2025. The Licensing Board note and comment on the recommendation to Cabinet as follows: to agree to the adoption of the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy laid out in Annex 1 to 16. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Scobie, and a seconder, Councillor Wing. Thank you. That concludes the business for this meeting.